Hi guys, Charmel Flemming here from FTwelve. So tax season, personal tax season has been pushed back by a few months, and I thought it a great idea to share some practical tips to make sure that when this filing season opens that you are ready to roll. And it's 4 practical tips that I use on an everyday basis. The first one is to make sure that all your documents are maintained on at a central basis. And what I mean by that is whether it's a medical aid claim that you've paid out of pocket and you can claim at a later stage, or whether it's your annual certificates that you receive, I always make sure that it's saved in one place, because when tax season opens, the last thing you want to do is sort of run around looking where your documentation or your supporting documentation is. SARS does require you to keep all documentation for a period of 5 years. So my mom is a very meticulous person. She brings a little envelope with all her slips that she's incurred throughout the year. And as soon as I get that, I convert it to electronic copy, because that's just how I prefer to store things, and it makes it easier for me to search as well. So I have an app called Receipt Bank that we use in FTwelve, which is really great, but you don't need to do something like that. Another option would be to take a photo of all your slips as you incur the expenses, email it to you and keep it in a central folder in your email box. That's one option of doing it. You can also save it to the cloud. Make sure you've got a folder if you've got access to cloud storage. That's another option. The second thing that I found people struggle with, and myself, is your travel logbook. So remember, SARS requires you to document all your business travel, and for that, one of the big drivers is you need to have an opening and closing odometer meter reading for each tax year. So what I have done is there's a recurring reminder on my phone that on the 28th or the 29th of February every year, that I need to just document for myself what that kilometer on my car is. And then you need to also keep track of your daily, all the trips that you do. For that, you need the date the trip occurred, the end and the start date if it's over multiple days. Then the opening and the closing balance of your odometer meter reading. That then gives you the total distance of your travel, which clients you went to go see, and what was the purpose for the visit. Any cost that's incurred in that as well, you also need to document. So there's a couple of options into which you can do this. You have a logbook. You can either have a pen and paper system, which works fine. The other option is there's apps available that you can use for your phone, or there's tracking companies that does have that functionality that you can have an electronic logbook as well. So irrespective of whether you use a pen and paper system or an electronic system, whether it's with your logbook or maintaining your documents, just remember life happens. So if you are changing phones or laptops, make sure that your folders are synchronized, so that when you move, you don't lose any of your past information. And similarly with pen and paper, documents can fade, coffee spills can happen, kids can use it as a coloring in book. These things happen. So just be aware that the onus is on the taxpayer to maintain those records should SARS require that. And that's for a period of 5 years. The third one is, and that is, so I've got a deadline for myself. And the third one is, make sure that you don't leave your annual return filings for the last day or for the last week. I've always got a target of trying to submit my tax returns within the first week of filing season opening. And then it's out of the way and it's done. That's it. And you don't need to sort of, when is it closing? Don't be driven by that deadline, rather be driven by when it opens, and get it out of the way. And the fourth one is, make sure that you continuously gather your information, because it does then make it easier for when tax season open, that you've got all your supporting documents. You can simply complete review and then submit, instead of having to look around for, where's your documents. And sometimes you forget, and it could be that you actually lose out on a deduction simply because you weren't collating it on a regular basis. So that is my 4 tips for tax filing season. And it's a good idea to try and entrench these tips into, the tax season for this year's already started. So just continue from here, so that tax season doesn't become an event, and that we can complete as soon as it's open. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.